Aloha, everyone. Michelle Melendez with Blossom Inner Wellness and StandTogetherHawaii.com. Today, I'm going to talk about who runs the world. Who is it? Who runs the world? What's coming? What we can do? That's what I want to talk about, and why this is happening, and what we can do to stop it. Please subscribe, like, and share because it helps get these videos out to more like-minded people. We need 10% of the population to know what the heck is going on. Do not comply to any of the BS. That's going to take courage, you guys. You can do this. So many people want to just ignore things and think, oh, someone else is going to fix it. Oh, this is happening, but I don't have to do anything. Yes, you do. All right. When it comes down to your life and your children's lives, because what happened in Israel is a bunch of BS. That was, we all know that that was an attack, just like on Lahaina. It's an inside thing that's happening, that's going on here, you guys. And it can come for you, just like it can come for me and all the people that in Israel. Over 1,000 people that were just murdered, and all the people in Lahaina that aren't even being numbered, aren't even being counted, that the governor is completely ignoring the missing people and saying 97 people died in a fire that with no sirens to tell anybody there was a danger. I don't think so. So who runs the world? What is the evilness, the demonic Satanists behind who runs the world? These are there's 3 books I recommend. I'm going to be reading from The Enemy by Bill Hughes. There's also The Secret, and I'm not going to say that word out loud, and that's by Bill Hughes as well. And it says the United States is in more danger today than she ever has been. A secret T organization has been working within to destroy America, its Constitution, and everything for which she stands. This book gives all the details and shows how far this organization has been able to progress in the destruction of America. An enemy has been stalking America for over 200 years. She's about to apply the death grip from which America will never recover. This book in your hands tells who the enemy is, who they have used in history, who is aiding them today, and how the final scenes will unfold. And that's what I'm going to read from today. The 3rd book I recommend is National Sunday Law by Jan Markozin, a shocking glimpse behind the scenes. So who are we talking about today? That started with the Roman Catholic Church. Many said a Republican government would not work. So I want to explain that we are not a democracy. We are a republic. Democracy is a lynch mob that wants to go murder somebody, and they can because the group in the majority say that they can. A republic says, no, you cannot murder that person because they have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is why we are a republic. So anytime you hear the word or the phrase that we are a democracy, that is a lie. We are a republic. So start telling everybody we're not a democracy, we're a republic, because we have laws to protect everybody, not just the people who are in power. Many said a Republican government would not work. The Roman Catholic Church had ruled the world through the Dark Ages and sought to keep the world under her dictatorial control. She was and still is deathly afraid of such a government. For over 200 years, the Protestant Reformation was a religious reform movement that swept through Europe in the 1500s, which this is when this is happening. It resulted in the creation of a branch of Christianity called Protestantism, a name used collectively to refer to many religious groups that separated from the Roman Catholic Church due to differences in doctrine. So for over 200 years, the Protestant Reformation had challenged the papacy's authority. The papacy is the office of the Pope in Rome. He is the head honcho of the Catholic Church. The papacy could not allow a government to espouse principles that would bring it down. The office of the Pope, the papacy coerced the nations of Europe in an attempt to stop this American experiment with every weapon at their fingertips. By the 1550s, the Reformation had become so extensive in Europe that the papacy began to realize they must do something to try and stop it. They realized that if it were not stopped, it would eventually undermine the position of the Catholic Church and destroy the absolute political power they had achieved. So every monarch in Europe is there because of the Catholic Church, not because they're elected. The church puts them in power. In order to accomplish the destruction of Protestant Reformation, denouncing some of the Roman Catholic doctrine, A new secret organization was formed within the Vatican called, I'm going to say this one time, Jesuits. Now I'm going to call it Jesuits, but that's who the Vatican, the Catholic Church, actually created this secret government. One of the major purposes of the Jesuits is to destroy every trace of Protestantism and its principles, including religious freedom, republicanism, representative government, and an economy built around a strong middle class. What's happening right now, everybody? Our freedoms are getting taken away. They're trying to destroy the middle class. The everybody's been calling this a democracy for how long? Because they don't want people to understand that we're a republic. Another purpose of the Zits, or I should just call Zits, is to greatly expand the power and control of the papacy, the office of the Pope, throughout the entire world. And then this guy is the author of History of the Jesuits, Their Origin, Progress, Doctrine, and Design. And he says that I cannot too much impress upon the minds of my readers that the Jesuits, by their very calling, by the very essence of their institution, are bound to seek by every means, right or wrong, the destruction of the Protestantism. Yes, this means lying, murdering, assassinating, attacks, all of it. This is what they're bound and vowed to do. At this time, in the order of the Jesuits was created, the most cruel, unscrupulous, and powerful of all the champions of popery. There was no crime too great for them to commit, no disguise too difficult for them to assume. Vowed to perpetuate poverty, it was their steady aim to secure wealth and power, to be devoted to overthrow Protestantism. So I want to explain this from their very beginning in the 1540s. 1540s, this is how long? This is hundreds of years, you guys. This has been going on. The Jesuits did just that. The Jesuits used deception in the extreme to bring about the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre in 1572, where 70,000 Protestants, including women and children, were slain in one night. They also created the 30-Year War from 1618 to 1648 in order to destroy the Lutherans of Europe. Starting in the 1600s, the Jesuits created a communist regime in Paraguay. This eventually brought the Jesuits' demise in the 1700s, which I'll explain in a second. So what happened is they actually created a communist regime in Paraguay, and what it was they took 250,000 native people, native Indians, and worked without any pay. They gave them food, lodging, clothing, some entertainment, but all their profits that they made, because they would make different things, different herbs, different trinkets, and they would take their ships and they would sell it. And that's how they got all this money. That's how they started to get a lot of money, but they didn't pay the native people. They just were slaves. They were the workforce, which the MF person over on Oahu, Green, is saying we're going to have a workforce housing in Maui. Well, that's communism. They're called communes. They actually represented at least $25 million in capital in the 1600s for the Society of the Jesuits. Remember, that is called Jesuit, and then the next word after that is its. And I just want to be careful because I don't know what YouTube is allowing me to say anymore. The profits were used to finance wars against the Protestant nations they had sworn to destroy. This is the final ending is coming up here, you guys. 1700s, the Jesuits order had become the powerhouse of Europe. Okay, nearly all the kings and sovereigns of Europe had only Jesuits as directors of their consciences, so that the whole of Europe appeared to be governed by the Jesuits. 1759, there was a divine intervention that started to begin, because America would not have been able to be America if this divine intervention did not happen. What happened was the Jesuits wanted to assassinate the King of Portugal, and he booted him out of the country. So he was the first to boot them out of their country for being treasonous traitors and rebels against the crown. And then what happened was it kind of was a snowball effect. Then the Catholic France banished them in 1762, whereupon the investigation into the Constitution and statutes of the Society of the Jesuits resulted in the enactment of a parliamentary decree. It denounced their doctrines and practices as perverse, destructive of every principle of religion, as injurious to morality. So that's what happened in 1762. They get booted out of France. Then they get booted out of Spain in 1767. King Charles III, greatest work, the expulsion of the Jesuits, would never have been carried out if he had not been persuaded of its political necessity. So he was convinced that a riot in Madrid had been promoted by the Jesuits, and that was in 1767. And then 1 year later, in 1768, they get booted out of the island of Malta. The Jesuits, having given much trouble, were expelled and their property confiscated. So they're getting booted out, which is what saved America and allowed America, because if these guys were in power, there's no way we would have a free country. There's no way. These people are evil. These Catholic monarchs demanded that the Catholic Church abolish the society forever. So they wanted the Jesuits out forever. But what happened was Clementine, the Pope, Clementine the 13th, the Pope at that time, he capitulated. He said, okay, I'm going to boot him out. The night before he was going to boot him out, he dies. He gets poisoned. These guys are intense. They murdered the Pope. 4 years later, 1773, 3 years before the Declaration of Independence, mark it well, Pope Clementine XIV, the next one, wrote an order, the purpose of which was to abolish the Jesuits forever. Unfortunately, a later pope reestablished them in 1814. So they did get booted. They got booted, you guys, 3 years before the independence of this nation, 3 years before the Constitution. They got booted from everywhere. They actually got incarcerated. A lot of their money was confiscated. Their property was confiscated. So that's what happened in 1773. 3 years later, we get our independence. And that's the only reason, you guys, is because of the divine intervention of booting these guys out of power. So what happens is they're back in power. Yeah, they're back in power. So I want to talk about the Illuminati, and I'm just going to say that one time as well, and now I'm going to call them the unilluminated. Everybody knows about organized crime and the mafia. Also, people have known for a long time about secret societies and so forth. During my research, I started to notice that those structures can be put together and joined, and I realized that right now we have a criminal monster, a hybrid of organized crime, mafia, and secret societies that have merged together. In order to survive, the Jesuits were forced to either go underground or travel to 3 countries where they are still permitted to operate: England, Germany, and Russia. And during this time frame, the Unilluminated was created. And they were created by Adam Weishaupt. He founded them May 1st, 1776, officially founded in the old Jesuit stronghold of Bavaria. So where this guy was born, it was the center of the Jesuits' Counter-Reformation. Canon law was the result of the infamous Council of Trent, which met from 1545 to 1563. The law revealed the Catholic Church's stand against the Protestant Reformation and is known as the Catholic Counter-Reformation. So they're trying to counter the Protestant Reformation to stop it. It doesn't work. But Weishaupt established the Unilluminated specifically to be a front organization behind which the Jesuits could hide. Okay, so all of the things that the Jesuits are doing, they're doing it through the Unilluminated. And that's not the only front that they have. They actually have many secret societies organized. The methods of many of these front organizations, such as the Unilluminated, are carbon copies of the Jesuits' methods and techniques, which are still in use today. This passage exactly describes the methods laid down by Weishaupt, the guy who founded the Unilluminated, for his insinuating brothers. Oh, this is about political talk. You know how the political talk and they speak, but they never say anything when they're talking? It comes from the Jesuits. It's meant to be this way. So the necessity of proceeding with caution in the enlisted and adepts, of not revealing to the novice doctrines. We're the novice, you guys, that might be likely to revolt. Speaking sometimes in one way, sometimes in another, so that one's real purpose should remain impenetrable to the members of the inferior grades. That would be us, you guys. So this is where it started. That type of talk started here in the Jesuits, in the unilluminated. Communism. Now remember the guy who founded the unilluminated? He was the father of modern communism. He perfected the inner workings between themselves and the Freemasons. Okay, let me just read this. So Adam worshipped the father of modern communism, who, with his Jacobins, that's another secret society, conducted the French Revolution. For the sons of Loyola punished all their enemies, including the Dominic priests, perfected the inner workings between themselves and the Freemasons, which is another secret society. So now we have those are four, actually, the Jesuits, the Unilluminated, Jacobins, Loyola, and the Freemasons. That's five. Created an alliance between the House of Rothschild in establishing the Unilluminated. The Jesuits general was in control of Scottish Rite Freemasonry and now sought an alliance with the Masonic Baron. So then, when they created the Unilluminated on May 1st, 1776, he was teaching at a university of the Jesuits College, and it is obvious that the Jesuits used worship to create the Unilluminated as a front for the subversive activities. During the order's suppression of 1773, that's when they got booted out of everything, 1814, by Pope Clementine XIV, because they were resurrected then, created the Unilluminated with his soldiers, created an alliance between the House of Rothschild in establishing the Unilluminated. The Jesuits general was in control of the Scottish Rite Freemasonry and now sought an alliance with the Baron of the House of Rothschild. So Rothschild is also a Mason. To accomplish this, he chose a Jesuit who was a German Gentile, and that's the Baron, the Rothschild, by race, and a Freemason by association. 1776, that joined the Grand Orient Masonic Lodge of 1777. He united the magnificent financial empire of the Masonic Jewish House of Rothschild. So the Roth, and then I'm worried about that word, child, financed the Unilluminated. That's where then the second time the money came from. So the Jesuits get booted out of Europe. All their finances get taken, is confiscated, all their property get taken. And now this guy, this Baron, Roth, and then the next word is child, starts to finance them. So they got money again. This other part gave me, I was like, oh my gosh. So this House of Roth, and then the next word is child, formed the international revolutionary force called the Unilluminated. We all know what that means, which later became known as communism. That's where that started. Aware that the Roth, and then the next word is child, are an important Jewish family, this guy looks them up to see who are these guys. And they actually bear the title of Guardians of the Vatican Treasury. The Guardians of the Vatican Treasury are the Masonic Baron, his family, the Roth, and then the next word is child, is the Guardians of the Vatican Treasury. The appointment of the Roth, and the next word is child, gave the Black Papacy, and the Black Papacy is known as the Jesuits. That's the Black Papacy. And remember, papacy is the office of the Pope. He gave them absolute financial privacy and secrecy. Who would ever search a family of Orthodox Jews for the key to the wealth of the Roman Catholic Church? So that's what I wanted to share about that. And we are enslaved by these guys, you guys. This plan was outlined in graphic detail. The sovereign grand commander is Albert Pike, the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite of Free, and the next word is Masonry, and the top Unilluminist in America. And he wrote a letter, and it is in August 15th of 1871, speaking as one who understood the Jesuits' plan for world domination to bring everything back into the Pope's hands. Pike was the top Illuminist Jesuit in America. And Pike stated that the First World War was to be fomented in order to destroy the Tsarist of Russia and to place that vast land under the direct control of the unilluminated agents. Russia was then to be used as a boogeyman to further the aims of the unilluminated worldwide. In other words, the Jesuits gained control of Russia near the end of World War I. World War II was to be formed through manipulation of the differences that exist between the German nationalists and the political Zionists. This was to result in the expansion of Russian influence and the establishment of a state of Israel in Palestine. In both instances, Pike's plan of world wars has been precisely carried out. These plans existed 40 to 60 years before the wars took place. The Third World War, which is happening now, was planned to result from the differences stirred up by the unilluminated agents between the Zionites and the Arabs. The conflict was planned to spread worldwide. Zionites are those who are pro-Israel, like the United States and Great Britain. The so-called War of Tea, remember that's that word, is part of the preparation for that war using Iraq, Iran, Al-Qaeda, and others against Zionites of America and Great Britain. The Jesuits are stirring up this conflict by their lies and deception, such as the false claim that Saddam Hussein was stockpiling weapons. This lie was simply a ploy to convince the American people that we had no choice but to invade Iraq. As will be shown later, Bush administration is working closely with the Jesuits to carry out their policies to the letter. The current conflict was planned over 130 years ago. The two presidents that last name are Bush are members of the Skull and Bones Order in Yale, which is a member of the Unilluminated, that secret society. They're also members of the Jesuits order and are carrying out their wishes. This order controls the president of the United States. And we have to understand that that presidency, that place is just, it's a puppet. It's not really in charge, because, I mean, we see him, the current president, saying, oh, I can't do this, or they want me to do that. He's not really in control of anything. So the Bushes, they actually passed the Patriot Act, which gets rid of our freedoms, not any of the people who do this stuff, not that, but it gets rid of our freedoms. The Patriot Act makes our phones so they're being heard, they're hearing every single word we say. You know, that's what the Patriot Act does. It's exactly the opposite of patriotism for this country and for the freedom of the Constitution. And now they also created the Homeland Security, which totally ignore the restrictions and the laws of the Constitution. So that's where I'm at, you guys. So the last thing I want to share is just things about the Roth and then the other word is child. They're Jesuits operating under a Jewish cover, using them informing the unilluminated back in the 1776. History books will tell us that the French Revolution began in 1787 and 1789, depending on which book you read. However, it was actually planned by the same guy who founded the unilluminated and the House of the Roth, and then the next word is child, almost 20 years before the revolution took place. And this is written by William Sutton, and the book is called The New Age Movement and the Unilluminated 666 Institute of Religious Knowledge. That's where that comes from. So we also want to talk about communism and Karl Marx. And he was hired by a mysterious group who called themselves the League of Just Men to write the Communist Manifesto. This was set down 70 years earlier by Adam Weishaupt, who was the founder of the Unilluminated. So they say that Karl Marx wrote this, but it actually was written 70 years earlier. So the League of Just Men was simply an extension of the Unilluminated. They keep making these other groups so that they're hiding behind these groups. Adam Weishaupt, who again founded the Unilluminated and is a Jesuit, and the Roth, and the next word is child, family created the Unilluminated. So then both he and the Roths united their efforts to control the French Revolution and the roots of communism. The Jesuits next used Karl Marx to write the Communist Manifesto, which codified the Unilluminated plan. The teachings of Marx were then passed to Lenin, Stalin, and the Trotskys. The financiers of all of these men were the Roths or their agents. This is the book I'm reading from. The reason why they want to blame the Jews is because the Jews believe that Jesus is coming back, and the Catholic Church doesn't want that. They want the devil, the evilness of the world to rule the world, not love. That's what their goal is. So please get these books, and we're going to do a quick prayer. So again, I just thank you so much for subscribing, liking, and sharing this information. This has been going on for thousands of years, and it's because of power and money, and they want us to be enslaved, just like what happened in Paraguay. starting in the 1600s, Jesus created a communist regime in Paraguay. They want to keep the destruction and our freedoms. They want to take everything like that away from us. So we're not going to let that happen, though. We see them, so we need everybody else to wake up and see what's going on. So let's just close our eyes. Infinite intelligence of all things, source of the world, source of life, love. There's a game being played out here of power, of money, of greed, of murder, of innocent people. And we don't know why we chose to come down into these earthly bodies, but we did play this game of the illusion of separateness and the illusion of fear, but there really is nothing to fear, because in the end, we all return back to love. We all return back to source. And we just ask that right now, that there be another divine intervention, that people wake up to see the truth, that it doesn't come now from the leaders, because the leaders are the people that are murdering us, their own people, that it come from freedom that we know we have a right to, that it come from each person, each man and living woman that hears this call and says no more ruling us, no more lies, no more deceit, no more murdering of our children and our mothers and our fathers and our aunties and our uncles. So we just give this to you, Great Spirit, and we take our action. We say no, we stand up. We stand up in courage, and we stand up in truth and in righteousness. And in your great name, Jesus Christ, we stand up in the knowingness that you are guiding our steps in the light of love and the source of all things. We know we say this in also the name of every single light being who has ever taken a stand against evil. We ask for that courage now for all people around the world. We ask that you hold Israel in the light and love and courage and strength. And we ask for peace on the planet. We ask for evil to be dissolved off of this world. We ask for the evil to be gone, never to return. And all of the people, all the Jesus, all the unilluminated, all the evilness that has contributed to the wars that have been absolute lies, absolute deception. We ask that all of those it was ever contributed to that be removed from this planet in a peaceful way, leaving people in peace, leaving this world in harmony, leaving all children and sentient beings, all mothers, fathers, with freedom, a freedom that we've never experienced, but it is as our birthright to have. Thank you, Great Spirit, and so it is. So please like, share, subscribe. Get these books. Thank you for any donations that you have to my cause. Sending you guys all much love from the Big Island. Aloha.